Impressive, isn't she? The Cathedral of the Thames Valley. Yes. An architectural feat. In my opinion, Pearson's best work.
Absolutely.
Ground to Woodcock, 150 feet easily. Now, imagine being 20 or 50 times that height, flying through the air with only wings and a propeller keeping you aloft.
No.
Oh, and the birds for company, if you're lucky. King of the skies, with an eagle's view of the whole battlefield below. Now that's why so many lads want to be airmen.
Absolutely, Mr. Willis.
Ah, I wager he's up there now, watching from heaven. Yes, my Howard, your Jim, and all the old boys at St. James's. Yeah. Oh well, all they can do now is sit back and cheer our lads to victory.
I'll drink to that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, while we've got a few minutes, perhaps we can go over my quote for a pairing with Jimmy.
Yes, we could do that.
Shall we?
Yeah.
And they say it's us wives who talk the most.
It's his nerves.
You know, when James' name was read out in the list of the deceased, well, it was a shock. This would be our third memorial service, you know. Thought you would get used to it, but you don't.
I knew this day could come eventually for my Percy or Frank, but never for Howard, not my youngest.
But he was at the Admiralty.
That was the plan, till those meddling suffragette women and their white feathers got to him. How they find the time, I will never know. It was because of them Howard joined the Royal Naval Air Service as an airman.
It's terribly tragic, dear.
For months, Mr. Willis and I were completely baffled as to why he suddenly left London. Then, after the accident, I discovered the offending item whilst clearing his room. The poor boy had hidden it out of sheer embarrassment.
I'd heard they'd even sent Feathers to the rectory. If that's true, it's a disgrace.
Shirker! Shirker! Shirker!
That's that frightful rumpus!
Yes, there he goes. You can't hide from the draft.
Oh my goodness, who does she think she is?
You should give her a piece of your mind, Mrs. Willis. After all they've done to you.
I'm going to do just that, Mrs. Hopkins. I saw you. You should learn some respect for gentlemen. This is hallowed ground. You have no shame, woman.
I respect gentlemen, not shirkers.
And what's all this? Remember all the nights. Take your side on your protest and move, or I want to call my husband.
If we tolerate selfishness and cowardice, Britannia will be defeated. Is that what you want? If more men like him had joined Kitchener's army back in 14, we'd have crushed Kaiser's men before they dug in.
It's not a woman's lot to determine the fate of men. It's for the tribunals.
It's 1918, not 1818, madam. Our sisters are in the police force now. They're in the pulpits. And there's a woman in Parliament.
Yes, and she's Sinn Féin. Makes this country a laughingstock. Right, you've had your fun. Now move.
We fought to get the vote for women like you.
For me, I have a house to look after, meals to prepare, and socks to knit. Only men have time to play politics. What's Tommy going to say when he returns home a hero, only to find his job at the factory is being done by a woman? Woe betide her if she lectures him about equality. When the men return home, they'll remember what you did.
If the law let me shoulder a rifle, I would. But it doesn't. So I support the war by giving Britannia the men she needs.
And that's how you justify exploiting the insecurities of young men. He was 21. He was 21.
Who, him?
No, my son.
Oh.
Last Easter, he left his important duties at Whitehall to become a crashed in France. His bones shattered and skin burnt, he lay in agony for 4 days until he finally passed away. If it hadn't been for someone like you, he would have stayed at the Admiralty. My boy would still be alive. You and your friends have no idea of the damage you do. Calling my son a coward. You ignorant suffragettes. You've caused Mr. Willis and I so much pain.
Willis?
Do you know him? Mr. Willis!
Oh my gosh,
George!
get off me!
Come quick!
Ow! Get
Still
off!
go!
What the devil?
Mr. Willis! George, you must get to the bottom of this. I think she knows something. I think she knows something about Howard.
You!
We've met before.
I will handle this, Mary Jane. Go find the Hopkins. Keep them talking. We cannot afford to lose that contract. Well, go on. You. Ah. You. You were outside the tribunal. Yes, it was you, wasn't it? I was granted those exemptions, fair and square. Then you humiliated me on the steps in front of everyone.
There is nothing fair and square about depriving the army of fit recruits.
First, you harangue my workers and humiliate me. Now, I find you harassing my wife. And service. A service that we're only attending because the suffragettes shamed my son into doing something that cost him his life.
The Order of the White Feather wasn't meant for him.
Oh, so you stand trial for slander.
It was meant for you.
Me? Madam, I am too old and exempt from military service.
But not too old to crawl to the tribunals because you feared losing your workers and wealth. That was cowardly.
I have given 3 sons to this war.
Both my sisters were widowed. And Annie's 2 sons, 6 and 3, died because they had no father to care for them. If everyone had given as much to this war as she did, it would be over by now.
Ah, piffle.
We, the members of the Women's Political Union, wanted you to have the white feather to show that whilst the men who make laws may exempt the businessmen, capitalists and churchmen, the women's daughters and widows of Alton and Ambridge do not.
Good grief, woman. You talk as though I deprived the army of a battalion. It was 3 men and only 6-month exemptions.
4 men.
4?
You forgot Howard.
Now you leave him.
He wanted to join the fight.
He knows nothing of my son.
They won't let me join. That's what he said the morning when he picked up the feather that was meant for you.
So it was you?
Me.
Why, God help me, if you were a man, I would...
Go on.
Oh, no. No. There's been enough suffering. Have you any idea of what you have done? I had everything under control, and if you had just kept... Yeah. I built my business from nothing. My appeals to the tribunal, and the reason we wanted Howard to remain in London. It wasn't just about wealth. Willis and Sons. That was all I ever wanted. Selfish? Maybe. But, madam, I am not a coward.
I have heard enough. I believe this